So I wanted to do an audio book review for you guys about one of my favorite books that I've ever read within the top 5, probably within the top 3. I bought it about 6 months ago and I probably read it in about a week. It's a action drama romance called All Chained Up by Sophie Jordan. So the main female in the plot is a woman named Nurse Davis, and she is probably about my age, kind of like a little bit about me, kind of like a curvy body, long brown hair. She's in her 20s, and her name is Nurse Davis. And then in the first couple chapters it starts out, she is a nurse at the local prison in Texas, and the main bad boy in this novel, his name is Knox. And Nurse Davis and Knox meet when Knox comes in for a health physical after he's sent to the prison hospital after he gets into a fist fight. So in the first couple of chapters, they meet. And I really like the book because it's very descriptive and it sort of teases a lot, and it's very evident in the first chapter or two that, Nurse Davis is just there to do her job and be a nurse, but she's obviously very attracted to Knox, and she's very nervous around him because, of course, he's an inmate. So Knox is probably, late 20s, I don't know, maybe 25, and he's tall. He's probably about 6 feet tall, and he's has, total football player, really ripped, jacked, muscular body, really fit physique, kind of a fair complexion, light blue eyes and sort of sandy hair, and he has a buzz cut, and he has a really big tattoo just all over his back. And Knox is in the middle of an 8-year prison term. He's serving out an 8-year prison term, and his brother North is in there too for 10 years, because many years before that they had murdered the guy who raped and killed their sister. So, in the first couple of chapters, Nurse Davis and, Knox meet, and I like the books because it's very descriptive and there's a lot of sexual tension in there. And it was saying in the book that she, obviously she's very attracted to him, but she keeps telling herself, it's been at least a year since she dumped her boyfriend, and it's been that long since she's been out on a date or, even held hands or had much physical contact with the guy. And Nurse Davis is just telling herself that, she hasn't had sex in at least a year, and that's all the reason that she's attracted to Knox. And, there's a lot of teasing, a lot of, sexual tension, because in the first couple of chapters, it describes Knox as when he gets his physical exam, and in the first couple chapters, Nurse Davis asks him, take off your shirt, and then he kind of looks at her all serious, he doesn't understand what she's saying. Then she goes, remove your shirt, please. And that's when she sees he has a big black dragon tattooed all over his back. His back is completely covered in a tattoo. And, just basically the book is very descriptive. It, describes his body, and when he takes off his white t-shirt, he just smells like laundry detergent. He smells like a man. He smells so good. And then there's a lot of teasing and sexual tension between the two of them, because obviously they're not supposed to have, any physical contact because she's supposed to be the nurse there. But it's interesting because when she puts the thermometer in his mouth, then her fingers accidentally brush his bottom lip. And then when she was adjusting the blanket on the hospital or the gown or something like that, then her fingers accidentally brush his thigh, and it was kind of, describing that. And then after the physical exam, Nurse Davis was telling Knox, you know, okay, you can't get into any physical, you know, exercise until, you know, your wounds heal. And then Knox was almost sort of like laughing at her and everything, and he was kind of like smiling at her because he was laying down on his hospital bed, and he said, and he was kind of being sarcastic with her, and he says, quote unquote, in the book, "I wouldn't dream of disobeying you, Miss Nurse Davis." So that's kind of what happens in the beginning, in the first couple of chapters, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of the details. You have to read, you know, the book if you want to figure that out. But then a few chapters later, like in the middle of the book, Knox finishes his 8-year prison term, so he is released. And when Nurse Davis finds out about that, she kind of has mixed feelings because, of course, she's glad that this guy is out of prison. But she's also, you know, disappointed because this will mean that she's never going to get to see him again because she doesn't have any way to get a hold of this guy. And then a few months after he is released, she runs into him when she's out getting her groceries. They're both in the grocery store, and then they don't really say a whole lot to each other. But she gets, you know, they're kind of like, they're not together, but like, you know, they're standing like right behind each other in line. And then she gets out into the parking lot, and then, you know, she says, you know, okay, goodbye, Knox, and he starts walking away and everything, and he's like 20 feet away. And this is kind of like where I like the book, because it's like describing and everything, and she's wondering whether she should take him back to her place or not. And there's like a lot of teasing, and she, you know, a lot of waiting in the book and in the chapter for her to decide whether she wants to go you know, bring this guy home. And then once he gets into his car, once he's at his car, she says, "Knox, wait." And then just at the very last minute, she's like, "Well, you know, why don't you come back to my place?" And it was really descriptive in the book, and there was a lot of teasing, like a lot of sexual tension. It says something like, you know, Knox had really dirty thoughts, and if she brought him home with her, it would mean that he would devour in every inch of her. So that's what it says in the book. And then basically she hops in her car, he hops in his car, and then he follows her to her place. And then they get in there, and then like within a minute, she's in the kitchen, and then he's like standing behind her, but he's not really doing anything. And then he's just like absolutely not saying anything, and then he turns around and they just start making out and everything like that. And then there's kind of a scene in there, and then he picks her up and then carries her to the bedroom. And anyway, I'm not going to reveal so this is probably about halfway through the book, so I'm not going to reveal any much more of what happens. I really like the book. It's probably within the three one of the best books that I've ever read. I would definitely give it a 10 out of 10. It's very hot. The main character, Knox, he's, you know, very attractive. He's really rugged and everything. And I would say that you have to read it. The thing that you should kind of wonder about before you get it is that the only thing that, you know, after the two of them start seeing each other, the only kind of question in their minds is that, you know, Knox just served 8 years in prison for murder, and so he doesn't really feel like he is really relationship material for her. Because it kind of goes into the book about his feelings about her and about how she's like really out of his league, and she's just, you know, way too nice for, you know, somebody that just got out of prison. So you should definitely buy it and read the book, because you have to figure out whether the two of them are going to get married, or whether Knox is not really looking for a relationship.